Hello everyone, my name is The Clever Fool. Today I'll be playing the 4th episode of Rajendra, titled Sacred Waters. This is a campaign from the Dynasties of India DLC. It's one of the harder ones, one of the more memorable ones. And for the 3rd time in a row, we will have an achievement that we're going for called No Wonder You Won, where we have to defeat someone before they construct their wonder. Let's go ahead and get started.
I was reminded the other day of a story that I had nearly forgotten. The tale of the god Indra and his battle against the mighty serpent, Vritra. The Vritra had taken all of the rivers of the world hostage, causing a global drought. Only by destroying the 99 fortresses of the Vritra and slaying the beast itself was Indra able to liberate the waters. The priests would call me sacrilegious, but to me, this tale has a hidden meaning. I am facing a Vritra of my own, and that monster is the great lie that I have lived until this day. The 99 fortresses are the little lies that are still burrowed into my soul. My irrational fear of corruption, my distaste for violence, and that misplaced care for the so-called innocent. Only when I destroy these inner fortresses can I unleash the greatness within me and become a ruler whose name will live on for millennia. To do so, I must look beyond our traditional enemies. Far to the northeast lies the land of Bengal. It is here, where the sacred Ganges meets the ocean, that I will achieve my greatest triumph yet. I have announced a march on the Pala Empire that rules Bengal. General Arayan has already left at the head of a large vanguard. Together, we will bring holy water from the Ganges back to Cholan lands, so that the gods may bless our realm. And if I can defeat one of the greatest empires in the known world in the process, then all the better.
Yep, he has officially become one of the baddies. But it's an interesting take on power and what it means to have it and chase it, right? Our main objectives are to rendezvous with General Arayan near the Bengali army's camp. Our secondary objectives are to bring Rajendra to conquered or allied cities to gain control of their production buildings. As long as you have food stockpiled, your soldiers will regenerate HP when you taunt 110 for a cost of up to 500 food. Improve army morale by using your heroes in combat. This takes the form of extra attack points for all of your soldiers, which is lost if your heroes are unhorsed. Our hints tell us that Rajendra begins in the Imperial Age with a population limit of 200 that does not require houses to maintain, but cannot construct any slow-moving siege weapons except for armored elephants before reaching General Arayan. You have no economy of your own in this mission, and cannot train economic units such as villagers or fishing ships, nor any trade cogs or transport ships. Instead, you will receive resources from your allies in Vengi, as well as the towns that you conquer on your way to Bengal. To win, you must strike a balance between restraint and expediency. Rushing ahead to defeat Mahipala before his army reaches its full strength and his wonder is completed could stretch out your supply lines. Well, that's what we're going to do for our achievement. But advancing slowly will allow the Bengalis to fully build up, making the final battle harder to win. Raiding the countryside and completing side quests will slow down your march, but the resource and otherwise inaccessible technologies that they provide could prove indispensable later on. Mahipala's economic buildings lie on the banks of the Ganges, making them vulnerable to naval raids. Your scouts report that Rajendra's army in red has arrived in the allied town of Vengi in purple. You will be able to augment your starting forces here, but you cannot linger for too long before resuming your march toward Bengal. Kalinga in cyan is close to Vengi, and its defenses are comparatively weak. It will defend itself mostly with elephant archers and infantry. Beyond Kalinga lies the heavily fortified city of Utkala in green, whose walls could prove too great a challenge for a head-on assault. It will defend itself primarily with infantry, arbalesters, and siege weapons. At the end of the road lies the Pala Empire, ruled by the great Bengali Emperor Mahipala in yellow. He has made camp by the banks of the Ganges and will train a vast and diverse army, which includes the fearsome Ratha, the Bengali chariot of war. Alright, we're going to go ahead and get started here. So this is going to be a post-commentary, because this achievement is one of those achievements that's pretty difficult to get, requires you to move really quickly, and requires quite a bit of focus. So I found that it was easier for me to focus on my gameplay for the initial part here, and do the talking afterwards to explain the strategy. So right away we're moving our units forward here. We start with a pretty sizable army, and first opponent will be Teal, Kalinga. They're pretty easy to take over. You want to be able to get the city under your control by the 2-minute mark. I'm researching the Arbalester tech, the Elite Elephant tech, and the Siege Elephant tech in this first area, while having Devapala build combat experience on a purple house by setting them to neutral. Now do note that while purple is neutral to you, you won't be able to leave the gates. You'll have to reset them back to ally, but that shouldn't be too much of a problem because the main things that you're trying to get in the first group there are your technologies anyway. Now, once you sneak into the gate and occupy Kalinga, you want to occupy it with Rajendra in order to get your the production buildings that are up here. The Chola soldier is suggesting pillaging the countryside, which is a great idea. Pillaging the countryside will get you a good amount of food. There's a special mechanic in this mission that allows you to use chat commands to provide a temporary burst of healing for your land units, which will come in handy pretty soon. There you see our army morale is popping as well.
We could crush what little remains of the resistance.
Speed is of the essence. You can see that I am pretty much triggering these chat commands and little quips super quickly so that they're coming in back to back. Speed is of the absolute essence here. On the water, you don't really need too much investment. They're fighting their fights off screen. It wouldn't hurt to mix in a couple of fire ships like I'm doing right now. And there you see the first of our trade cogs that will give us quite a bunch of resources that we can use to continue producing units. Our army morale has finally increased as well. I think we can increase it maybe one more time to a +3.
And they will not fall today.
But now, as you can see here, I am baiting some Utkala units out just a bit preemptively. The reason why I'm doing this is because in order to capture these cities, we need to empty their city zone of a certain number of military units. Now you can do this by killing them in the city, but you can also do this by drawing them out of the city, which is the trick that I use in order to capture them really quickly. Now, there is several Kalinga bases in the countryside still that are lying in wait to recapture the city, but it becomes a moot point if you just completely ignore them and then march up to the gate here. The important thing to do here is to march right up to the gate and then bait them into opening it like they just did, and then sniping that king with your arbalesters or crossbowmen. We got lots of army morale coming through.
My only regret is not joining the Chalukyas in war against you, Rajendra.
So after you finish killing off King Indraratha here, Kalinga will become your ally and stop fighting you. So you are free to loot the remaining markets here. I sent the melee forces from that squad over there down to the market, which is almost completely undefended, to get
They must be acted upon.
the extra food stores from them. There you can see I'm making a save because I like the progress that I've made so far, so I decided to make a save. I made a couple saves here just in case I didn't pass the mission. It's quite a time-sensitive one, so if I felt like I did a particular section really well, I just made a save really quick. So the next thing you want to do here is to go through that narrow mountain pass, kill off some bandits, and capture some rotting trebuchets, which we'll see soon. This entire time we're training additional siege elephants, battle elephants, and elephant archers. The battle elephants obviously are not quite as good as the siege elephants and the elephant archers, but they provide melee bulk, and so the limiting resource that we're taking advantage of here is the number of production buildings that we have. In this forward city, we have 1 archery range, 2 stables, and 1 siege workshop, so we can produce battle elephants pretty quickly, whereas we cannot produce elephant archers as quickly as we'd like. Alright, so I'm kind of coming through with a two-pronged attack, baiting the green units out one by one with my existing forces. This is a bit of a lull in the action, so to speak.
Let us use them to crack open Utkala's defenses.
We leverage the food chat command to heal our units. Remember that this command is going to be more powerful the more units you have, so it's easier to justify spending the 500 food the larger your army is, and you really need to ride that momentum in order to be able to complete this mission at a quick pace. If you don't clear out Teal's king, at this point, if you advance to Utkala, he will recapture Kalinga from you, which will be pretty troublesome if you let that happen, so it's best not to do that. Also, while we're engaging in the countryside, Orange actually opens the gates for a few of Kalinga's soldiers to come in. You definitely want to be aware of that so that you don't accidentally let Rajendra die. You should have a few elephant reinforcements there to keep you safe, and them alongside Rajendra should be able to take care of everything. Here we've got Utkala captured now, and we're starting to move our archers forward to rendezvous with General Orion's forces. They also provide us with another side objective, which is to take out the bandits and restore the relics. At this point, it's a good idea to talk about what you're actually getting from each of these side objectives. Each trade cog gives you lots of resources. It's 1,500 of a lot of resources, I believe. Each market gives you something like 800 food. Killing the king prevents him from recapturing the city later on, makes Kalinga not fight you anymore, and also gives you ring archer armor and bracer, which is very valuable. And then finally, the bandit relic recovery gives you chemistry and access to the cannon Galen technology. Most of these are quite good. I'd say the relic one is the most optional, whereas the king snipe is pretty much necessary in order to beat this mission in a timely fashion. Cannon Galeons are largely inconsequential, as is most of water. My suggestion on water is to make sure that you don't overextend your navy, and then just keep some Thericidai in line to protect your trade cogs from enemy forces. They will send units down the river, like Galeons down the river, to intercept, and they will sneak by your navy every so often, so it's important to take care of those. So now I'm rotating a massive amount of my army, consisting of a ton of arbalesters, a ton of armored elephants, and a ton of battle elephants and elephant archers in order to kind of outflank the enemy army here. They're sort of waiting for a few minutes before they attack, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to trigger them with my force of skirmishers, and then bring them back into the confines of the castle here. I used General Orion and the infantry forces that we got from rendezvousing with him to wipe out the bandits. They are more than capable of handling the job. So moving your forces up north here is of the essence. You definitely want to do that before doing the trigger, so that they avoid the bulk of the enemy army here, and just let the army kill off your forward camp as you outflank them. Something to note is that when you captured Utkala, you don't have to destroy their castle in order to capture Utkala. I suggest not doing this, because if you don't capture the castle, then it will join your side for later on and will serve as a great defensive point. Also, it'll allow you to garrison your elephant archers and armored elephants inside if they need to hide. But more importantly, it'll allow you to train trebuchets as well, which will pretty much trivialize the remainder of the mission once you've destroyed the wonder. So now that the enemies are all distracted, we can just quickly march our elephants in. The important thing is to let your battle elephants and elephant archers tank most of the damage. If you have spare food, this would be a great opportunity to use the food chat ability to activate healing on your units. I may or may not do it here. I think I'll do it soon. But yeah, around the 15-minute in-game mark is where you want to be attacking the villagers. The wonder is almost complete, as you can see. Very, very little time remaining. and the villagers are desperately trying to fix it as well. So it's really, really close. I don't think if there's any way to cut it anything but close. And this is one of the strategies that I found to be the most consistent in terms of being able to work. Speed is of absolutely the essence. If you don't move quickly enough, they will just complete the wonder out from under you. So accomplishing all those side objectives, killing the king, getting the markets all grabbed, getting the healing, and getting the bandit stuff. Like I'm activating the healing here actually. Capturing Utkala and then moving all of your elephant forces up to the flank, triggering the enemy attack, and then using the forces to come in and kill the villagers. That exact pathing requires some really, really precise and tight timing. You kind of need to know what you're doing beforehand. I don't think anyone could do this mission blind without having understood how it works beforehand. At least with the achievement. If you're able to do it while getting the achievement on your first try, kudos to you. You've got some masterclass strategical, just abilities, I suppose. But yeah, this is the path I arrived at after trying and failing several times, and it is pretty effective. You don't need to focus on water too much. You only need to keep enough water control to be able to get your cogs gone. And I actually think I'm losing a cog there to some galleons that they sent specifically for this purpose. And yeah, after this point, there really isn't too much to say. You definitely don't want to lose the Utkala base. You don't want to lose Rajendra. If you lose Rajendra, then he can no longer occupy Utkala, so then all of a sudden all of your production facilities are gone, and you lose morale. That's why you don't want to lose your hero units, and that's why you want to stack the morale. My units are much stronger than their units right now because they get layered attack value, and they don't get the layered attacks from the morale boost. There you go. I lost the cog there. Tragic. But Kalinga and Utkala are also paying some tribute here every once in a while, so all is not lost if you don't save every single trade cog. But the trade cogs also provide tons and tons of value, so it's a good idea to save them if you can. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Elephant archers and armored elephants are of absolutely vital importance in this mission. I find that arbalesters were also quite strong because you start with a bunch of crossbowmen. I think arbalesters are rather underrated for this. I wouldn't train any myself, but I definitely think the starting block of arbalesters or crossbowmen were well worth upgrading to arbalesters to increase their damage output, because they had, bracer full upgrades on top of the morale bonus, so they're quite dangerous and deadly units there. And here you can see finally my attack force here is fizzling out. The villagers will repair the yellow castles, so you want to make sure that you just have a strong attack force capable of leveling the castle in one blow. Our original attack force's job, it went through, it destroyed the Wonder, which eased up the pacing on us significantly, and then after destroying the Wonder, they even managed to take out one of the castles. The southernmost castle is siegeable from the water using cannon galleons. You can do that if you want, especially if you have the cannon galleon tech from the bandits, or rather from the monks after recovering their stuff from the bandits, but it's entirely optional. I didn't really see too much reason to invest on the water after a while. I just parked some Thuricidae, maybe about 2/3 of the way up there, just so that my cogs are protected, and yeah, that's it.
A ship filled with resources has arrived from Tanjavur. Make sure that it reaches our army unscathed.
These elephant archers, in fact, live to tell the tale, kiting all these guys all the way back here to join the main block here. Yeah, and that's it. This is really one of the most fun missions I've played so far, out of one of the most fun campaigns I've played so far. It's very, very, very challenging. I'd place it like almost on par with really hard achievement missions, such as Rome was destroyed in a day, for example. That one is pretty tough. It also has a pretty fast time gate for destroying castles. This one is much quicker though. It's a blitzkrieg. You only have 15 minutes of game time, which is maybe 10 or so minutes of real time to get from the start of the mission to destroying the wonder. So it's a really, really fast one if you want to try it. So yeah, it's really just a matter of maintaining a big block of elephants if you can, and preserving them long enough to get the wonder down, and then surviving these attacks from Mahipala here. Mahipala is a very strong enemy. The Rathas behave fairly intelligently. They do switch back from melee and ranged mode, so the AI there is well made. Pretty scary stuff. Well, yeah, we are in wonderful shape now, and the mission is just about over. The achievement pops after you beat the mission, because the achievement officially is win the mission before Mahipala completes this wonder. I guess there might be some option, some world where you're able to destroy all 3 castles before the wonder is constructed. I don't really see how that's possible in hard mode. With such a massive army that Mahipala has here. But yeah, it's quite a fun one, and I really like how this mission highlights some of the strengths of the civilization, of the elephant archers, of the elephants. And the armored elephants. I really like how it's highlighting the unique aspects of these new Dynasty of India's DLCs, which is really nice. The Thrissidae features quite well in this mission as well. It's featured pretty well in multiple other missions. So lots of good points for me. I think this is a great, very well designed campaign, and the achievements make it even more fun. So now we're just closing in on the final castle. Yellow doesn't have much of an economy if you do things correctly. Our original task force that destroyed the wonder did a really bad. They did a good job. Bad for the opponents. They did a really good job of absolutely wiping out a bunch of production buildings of the enemy. So they were essentially crippled after that shock assault. But yeah, so in summary, move up the coastline with your starting ships, protect your trade cogs, use the neutral stance to farm for morale boosts, snipe off the king really quickly, capture the trebuchets, bait out Utkala, destroy the markets, bring back the relic with the General Orion's army, move the elephants up from up north and then to the east behind the wonder, and focus down the villagers that are building the wonder, and let the armored elephants do the rest.
Despite suffering humiliation at my hands, Mahipala refuses to bend the knee. He retreats and leaves eastern Bengal open for raids. And in doing so, he saves his dynasty from annihilation. A part of me admires his staunch resistance, but that is a part of me which must die. There can be no admiration for one's enemies, no respect for those who refuse to accept their place in the world that I am creating. For now, I will leave Mahipala to pick up the pieces of his broken pride. Another, even greater predator has drawn my eye.
And yeah, that's it. That is the mission completed with the achievement on hard difficulty. See you guys next time.